Welcome to another edition of ALN Thursday at 3. This is a very different type of program, and we're not starting with our usual slides thanking our sponsors or ALN organizational members, but we do thank them all, our patron members, Onuma Inc., ABS Quality Evaluations, and Kahua, and all of our organizational members. Before we get started, it's been a wonderful week of activities, and we've got some things to report that the Kahua AI event last week that I asked you to go to instead of attending this event was spectacular, and there will be links to it in the newsletter on Tuesday. Also, there was a presentation with ALN members through the U.S. Green Building Council that also included Linux Foundation Trust executives. There's a whole division of the Linux Foundation based on building trust and specifically trust in AI. And the presentation was a breakthrough. Usually it's a meeting that is a breakthrough, but everyone is so busy that nobody really saw each other's presentations until they were all together yesterday. And everybody who presented together wants to present again. So while we are taking a break from ALN Thursday at 3 next week or next month, July, when we come back August 5th, there's going to be a very extensive replay of this breakthrough presentation yesterday. So look forward to information about that in the ALN Line of Sight newsletter, which I want to emphasize is called Line of Sight because the tools and processes that today's technology allows has leaders able to see directly to assets in a direct line of sight like they have not before, and therefore it changes the business processes for the management of those assets. And leaders need to understand how to change their cultures in order to accommodate this rapidly evolving set of tools that is inundating humanity. And the Asset Leadership Network is happy to be providing programming and exercises that helps people get familiar with these. And this week we're talking with Malik Barami about storytelling. And Malik, thank you for coming back. He's been a guest in the past. And so let's get into it now. Malik, how did you get where you're at in your asset management journey?
Thank you, Mike, and thanks for having me as a guest. I really appreciate it. So I'll get right to it. By training, I'm a structural engineer, civil structural engineer. I got out of school and did land development, a series of different consulting, engineering, design, permitting, construction, and so on. And then I joined the public sector for 7 years. I worked for Fairfax County on the owner side of assets and those things. And then most recently, I was the director of asset management for an engineering firm in North Carolina. So that kind of is the arc of my career. But
But
throughout,
that's just your employment. You also have an asset management journey related to the development of asset management standards. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
sure, absolutely. Thank you for the question. So it was about, I would say, time seems to fly. I want to say it was maybe 10 years ago or so where I joined, I discovered Asset Leadership Network, and through the Asset Leadership Network and the NPMA, National Property Management Association, I became involved in ASTM and writing standards for ASTM. The first standard I contributed to was E3210, which is a standard on infrastructure asset management. And I've been active in Committee E53, which is Committee on Asset Management, and Committee E5050. which is Committee on Environmental Climate Change and Environmental Sustainability. So, and I would say most recently, I've submitted two different methodologies, one to Committee E53 and one to Committee E50 for basically having well-established methods with known pros and cons so that we could use them.
And why do you think it's important to be involved in the standards creation?
Sure. I think that when I've done structural design, so I'm familiar with structural methods like LRFD, ASD. I've done H&H, hydraulic and hydrology. I'm familiar with hydrology, which has got just a few Anderson method, rational method, TR55, and SCS. I've done pavement design, and pavement design had Waswani method. So the point I'm making is every one of these professions establishes methodologies with known advantages and disadvantages. And these methods are similar to recipes. So I think right now we have a great wealth of knowledge when it comes to asset management, and we have some terrific organization and standards out there like ISO 55000 and IAM. In my mind, I see those organizations as the culinary art school. And right now, we're teaching people how to be executive chefs so they can develop their own recipes. But we have a lot of smaller organizations across the United States that don't necessarily have the resources or bandwidth to become an executive chef before they can make a meatloaf to eat dinner. So we need to be able to provide people with recipes with known advantages and disadvantages. And some people might need hamburger helper. But the goal is to provide more tools with known advantages and disadvantages so that people can start developing them, using them.
So that's great. And thank you for providing the first food analogy to asset management. Nobody else has done that one before, so thank you for that. And
Sure.
I wonder, since you do have experience in both private and public sector, what can allow the top leaders of organizations understand the value of using these proven recipes?
That's a great question. And I think that in order for leaders to kind of um, evaluate the whole thing holistically, the issue that is at hand, you need to look at all the different pieces. So the solution is not adopting a certain standard and be done, or buying a software and then be done, or adopting an SOP for maintenance and then be done. The idea is there are many moving parts to asset management, an asset management program. So leadership needs to work on establishing a culture of asset management within the organization and establish a culture of continuous improvement. And you can only do that by recording where you are today, go around the circle. When you come back around, you nudge it in the right direction every iteration.
And what are some things that you think can help organizations transition to understanding the need for this type of continual improvement circle that you just described?
So I say here I go again with another analogy, Mike. But I say asset management is like doing dishes or doing laundry. It's never done, right? You just keep doing it over and over again, and the goal becomes how do I keep doing this more efficient and deliver more value? So the idea becomes understanding what expenditure means and what is the value of that expenditure, whether it's capital or operational expenditure. You want to allocate that as an organization to wherever you see your gaps, your highest risks. So those gaps could be I need to replace a particular asset like a treatment plant, or those gaps could be I don't have any data on my pipes and I need to prioritize the CCTV inspection so that you can make decisions and differentiate between decisions that are based on actual field data and decisions that are just based on a desktop exercise of reviewing records and everything. Because those two are going to give you different decision-making capabilities.
You said a phrase that I think is actually the heart of how to help establish a culture of asset management, continual improvement.
Yeah.
If I say if people that's the last item on the list of to-dos from ISO 55001, and I have come to learn that it's really the most important to identify if somebody is interested. If
Yeah.
they're interested in continual improvement, there's a lot to be done.
Yeah.
And with AI right in our face, oh my goodness, we
Yeah.
might find a way to continually improve tomorrow, something that we improved last week. And
Yes.
so, two things here: technical continual improvement and human behavior ability to absorb the rate of change that we're looking at. How do you want to talk about these?
Sure. So I say, when you look at any asset management program, I have six pillars that I think every asset management program needs to have. First one is understanding, know where you are, right? Where are you going to go? You got to have the stakeholder involvements. You got to have tools and resources. Those could be anything, tools, equipment, software. You got to have your processes recorded and documented, how you do work within your organization. And then you got to have a pillar of governance, which oversees and establishes a standard on how this whole thing flows through your organization. Then that pillar of governance needs to have an audit program where you're auditing yourself as an organization to see if you are complying with those standards that you want to comply with. And then you produce recommended action based on the finding of the audits. And I say this, the last pillar and probably the most important pillar of any asset management program is the training, teaching everybody and advocating this new knowledge, this new culture, this new approach, so that everyone is on the same page, all the way from leadership, all the way to the person who's turning the wrench and actually getting the work done and finishing the work orders.
You just concisely established a strategic asset management plan that anyone can follow. That was very good. Thank you.
Thank you.
All
Thank
right.
you.
So, and you also incorporated both parts of the question in one answer, because I said, how do you get people to continually improve? And training is the answer, education and training.
Yeah.
And that was quite concise. You really nailed it, and actually surprised me. I was going to tease that out a little bit further. So
Good.
we've been talking for a while over these years, and um, these approaches apply to both man-made assets and natural assets. When you were with Fairfax County, you were with Parks and Recreation.
Yes.
Were you mainly involved in the man-made aspects of that, or did they have any asset management for the natural assets?
So it was a complete portfolio, which a park authority is like a small city. They literally have everything from roads, parking lots, trails, athletic fields, athletic courts, driving ranges, golf courses, rec centers, Olympic pools, leisure pools, commercial kitchens, clubhouses, equipment, a working historic water mill that has no end of life. It's into perpetuity, operations into perpetuity. We have to pursue that. We had wetlands and meadows and bridges and culverts and stormwater management dams. So the objective there was, how do we create a common language so that all the different departments, when they're requesting money, they're expressing their need in the same fashion the other department is. It could be something as simple as, you know, maybe your trail system is in a 1, 2, 3, 4 rating system, right? And then you have your rest of assets are in an A, B, C, D, F system. Well, if you're trying to decide based on condition which of these to replace, do the number fours on your trail go into a 4 on 5 rating or a number 5? So that becomes a challenge, and the goal is to establish a common language from in an asset agnostic point of view that enables the operators to do what they need to do. And also, I think there's an important part here, Mike, and I call it organizational empathy, because the reality is every organization is under stress, whether it's financial or personnel, resources, whatever it is. So when we're asking operational staff to capture more data, we need to be cognizant of the utilization. There's some school of thought out there. We now have AI, we can have a data lake. Let's collect all the data that we can. We don't know what we're going to need in future. That is one approach. But there's a cost associated with collecting data, maintaining data, upkeeping data, and there better be a utilization rate for that data. Otherwise, your operational staff are going to give up recording it, and it's a waste of their effort, and leadership and everybody loses credibility with the operational staff because they're asking them to do something which the operational staff is not seeing the transparent arc of how it works.
That's a culture of asset management when you can successfully merge that A, B, C, D, F with the 1, 2, 3, 4, and have people understand either why they need to change or how they interlace.
And I think DC government recently did something similar to this, where they required, I guess, correct me if I'm wrong, they had over 100 different organizational units that are now operating within one system.
They allowed each department to use their own software to run their category, but required the use of a single software program in order for the CFO to be able to understand how they could evaluate financial requests, just like you described. How do we apples to apple? How does 2 fire trucks equal 15 police cars? And do we have 1 fire truck and 7.5 police cars, or how do we do that balance? And actually the success of that, it took 2 years to get 100 departments to change, and they had to do some tough love in order to get people to do it the way they wanted. But they did, and Moody's bond rating agency increased them to a AAA rating, and they saved $100 million in 10 years on interest alone.
Wow.
That's not even all of the asset management benefits they received. So
that's incredible. That's a good success story.
It is. And thank you for asking about it. I like to mention it. And actually, they were the host of the Global Asset Management Summit Repeatable Success Stories in April. And they are continuing to improve, and they're all over AI and are engaging with the Asset Leadership Network to continually improve their operations. And so
that's
it's
awesome.
just an honor to be involved with them and working with them. However, we see many organizations that are not like that. And what are some steps you think that you described a Parks and Recreation as being a city into itself? So
yes.
Hospital campus is the same way. Military base is clearly the same way. University campus can be seen the same way. How do those established organizations help overcome the lethargy momentum? People just want to keep doing things the same way. I'm sure you've encountered this in both private and public organizations. Yes. Any thoughts on what they can do?
Yeah, I think that, this is what I've done in my career. One of the rules I have for myself, I say the true seed to collaboration is recognition of the other. Recognition of the other means actually sit down with the different departments, with the operators, with the designers, and actually have a conversation with them. Treat them with dignity and respect and equal standing so that people feel welcome and they feel safe to share their ideas. The reality is the operation, nobody knows how to run the assets better than the operational staff. What we need to do is bring them to the table, we put our heads together and say, okay, as an organization, these are our top 10 priorities or top 9 priorities, whatever they are. But we can all agree that's that pillar number 2. So pillar 1 and 2 are active right now, understanding and stakeholder involvement. You bring everybody in, you document what people want to accomplish. You know, there's an old saying that says, if you don't know where you want to be, you'll end up where you don't want to be. And an organization needs to define where they want to be and then chart a path to get there. So I think it's an understanding of organizational empathy. It's an having the desire to actually collaborate with people and understand what they're about and where they're coming from. What are their challenges? What are their strengths? How do we combine these pieces together as a whole puzzle?
And that's what can help improve the behavior of an organization. And the Asset Leadership Network was named before I joined it, but I don't think there could be a better name because it's about leadership changing that culture.
Yeah.
And if the top leaders are not interested in that, it just isn't going to work.
Yeah, yeah, and I think one of the easy ways for everybody to be interested in is you know there are many ways for us to I've done construction cost estimates and for bonds for different things, and there are plenty of books out there that you can go look up costs. And when you put a cost estimate, here's my operational cost, you present it to leadership. The first question is, what are your assumptions? Where'd you get your numbers? And the conversation shift to a validation of the data rather than what is the data telling us and what decision do we need to make. But when an organization puts that same binder, but the data is representation of actually what the operational staff have done, recorded, because the operational staff have been doing this. All we're saying is, hey guys, let's capture the work that you're doing so that we can bring it into a decision-making matrix. Because on the other end of the circle, what we're talking about is aligning the asset life cycle with the decision life cycle with the budget life cycle, so that when we come around, there's money for you guys.
That's seems to always be the inspiration for cultural change or improvement. I always say, don't use the word change. Nobody
Yes.
wants to change, but if you say improve, nobody's going to say they don't want to improve. So
Yeah.
a little subtle thing. And you're aware of the Asset Leadership Network's involvement with the United Nations Infrastructure Asset Management, and that we are the co-chairs with the Asset Management Council of the Ethical AI and Digital Tools Task Force. And I was really impressed to learn that you used AI to help create a non-technical solution to desalination that could be used in developing nations.
Yes.
Can you
Yes.
tell us a little bit about this innovation that you have? And it's posted on GitHub.
Yes, sir.
It's
Yep.
a great story.
Yeah, of course. I'd be happy to. Thank you for asking. So in it was about 2018 or so, I came across a historic project in Ragged Chutes, Canada, which introduced me to a concept of a falling water air compressor. It's called Tromp, Trompe, Trompe or Trump. It was invented in the 1800s by European blacksmiths. At least that's what I found thus far. So to me, at the time, that was the heart of a system because they ran a cobalt mine for many years off of
Whoa,
it.
whoa, whoa. Can you explain what that means?
Oh, sure, sure. So a falling water air compressor. So there's YouTube videos of this on online, so people can look it up. It's Ragged Chutes Canada. Water in Niagara Falls came at a high elevation, fell through a vertical shaft. As the water fell, it got air entrained. Microbubbles, air bubbles got trapped in the water. Water comes down, falls to the bottom. There's a horizontal tube. Now the water starts naturally just flowing. As it slows down, the air bubbles rise up and separate from the bottom, and they want to go to the top. There's a cavity right there above this horizontal tunnel, and then there's an exhaust shaft. The exhaust shaft provides the back pressure that keeps the air pressurized. So for every foot of height in your exhaust shaft, you get 0.43, if I remember correct, psi of pressure. So in Ragged Chutes, Canada, they had, I think, 350 foot of fall, which meant they got 150 psi of pressure for over 2 decades to operate a cobalt mine with zero electricity and zero oil used.
And that would allow them to power
Cobalt mine operations. Yeah. All of
what?
their air tools.
Oh, okay. So
Yeah.
jackhammers.
Yes, yeah. Sorry,
Yeah.
yeah. They were using all the air tools. And actually what they found is the air was cleaner than and drier than air that came from compressors, traditional compressors. So anyway, that was in 2018, and I've been working on this for many years, but it wasn't until 2024, 25 where AI really became a tool that was available to me. And for years, I've been sketching different drawings and researching on my own, but things were going really slow. And with the advent of AI, I was able to give my instance some of my desired user custom instructions, what I'm looking for, what I'm going to do, what are the specs, what is it a design, what is it, and so on. Just establishing all those parameters, that enabled me to do a real quick cross-domain search across multiple AI systems because their training data may not always be exactly the same, and it really sped up my invention. So in because I now had a thinking partner that I could throw ideas at, and it would tell me if I'm wrong or if I'm right, or what am I missing, or there's something else. So it really enabled me to iterate really fast, design after design after design, and immediately find out the issues and the challenges and continually improve and move forward. So it was in 2025 that last year, I had all the major pieces of my water system, which is elevating the water. So it's converting wave energy to get the water elevated, stored potential energy. Then you bring the water, drop it in a falling water air compressor. Now I generated compressed air. Then I invented a third stage, which is a air displacement pump station. Now that I have compressed air, I can fill a tank up with water up to a certain level, trigger the air pressure release, and it pushes it into the pipe system. So it was a great, I call AI my brain prosthetic because that's what it is. I develop the idea, I throw it into the AI, and it polishes it or it breaks it. It allows me to stress test my ideas a lot faster.
And then
So,
it allows what is the end result? Keep going.
okay, so the end result is you get the water, elevate the water, get compressed air, you got the pump station, and then there is a pipe that I designed, invented. I call it's a biomimicry pipe after a scaly-footed gastropod, which is in the bottom of the ocean at the geothermal vents. It's the only animal that I know of that creates iron scales and iron shell to protect itself. So if I want a long durable pipe, infrastructure timeframes, I said, okay, let's combine vitrified clay pipe, but vitrified clay is really brittle. How do I give it longevity? And I said, okay, let's have a vitrified clay core pipe and then have a ductile iron shell around it. It's kind of like a reinforced pipe. So you create a forgiving pipe around it. Then I said, okay, now I can get the water without oil, without diesel, without electricity to a point, and it's pressurized in the system. Now let's use solar desalination. I can transport this to the point of use. And the idea is, I think ASC put out, we lose about over 6 billion clean drinking gallons of clean drinking water per day in the United States. So the concept is, why get the water to its best quality just to lose it in the ground? Why not process the water for transport and then put the responsibility of finishing the water on the end at the point of use? And this is not a crazy idea. We already do this in sanitary systems with septic systems. There's permitting, there's all sorts of stuff. So the idea becomes, you got water, water's pressurized, goes to the rooftop. Now because I have a very durable system and I don't have a lot of moving parts and it's an air displacement pump, I can pump brine. So now I can pump brine onto the rooftops, and I designed a solar desalination unit, and I went for the simplest thing possible. I'm an advocate of technology and AI, but I think innovation needs to go two ways. There's innovation by adding complexity, and there needs to be innovation by reducing complexity. So this water system is reducing complexity. One of the problems we have with centralized desalination is we take all of that salt and put it in one point. It creates a point source pollution. So this idea of distributing the desalination onto the rooftop and onto the homes, you're basically taking that into reverse. It's like the opposite of point source pollution. So I'm using that to the advantage, and this way, the salt that is remaining gets distributed over many square miles. So the idea is the homeowners would have a desalination unit on top that uses gravity and sunlight, solar, to evaporate, get condensate, and collect the condensate. And it's pitched at 12 to 1, so I can collect rainwater in case there is rain. We don't want to lose any water. And
Nope.
then you're going to have some amount of excess super concentrated brine, which you can have a disposal pit next to the home, or come up with a way to collect that and extract sea salt for an industry. And I proposed coconut coir mats for the filter media in the solar desalination, because first of all, they're really great at absorbing stuff. Second of all, there is a huge coconut industry, so we can get coir its natural filter. Thirdly, when the coconut filter becomes super saturated with salt and they need to be replaced, all you got to do is roll them up, dry them, throw them down, and burn them. What you're left with is charcoal and sea salt. So it really helps the planet, the society. And I'm not proposing that we throw away everything that we have, right? We got some really good tools and really good technology. I'm just proposing we add more to our toolbox.
Well, that is wonderful. I really appreciate everything you've brought to this 33-minute discussion. It's quite intense, and I especially love how you engineer empathy.
Thank
That's,
you.
very, very important part. And so thank you for taking time to talk with
Thank you.
us about your asset management journey. And we'll be in touch with you, especially about this desalination program. We'd like to present that as an asset management, an AI and asset management activity for the United Nations. So please
Thank you.
look forward to that. And everybody else, next week, we're going to be talking about a stock market type approach to disposing assets when you can get the highest value from the disposition. And some of our new members have this a really wonderful way of using AI to make that happen. And look forward to that. And like I said, we're going to take July off and then come back really strong with the amazing breakthrough presentation on what the future of AI and asset management is looking like based on what our members are doing with other organizations. But it's really impressive. So see you next week. And then again, I believe it's August 6th. So thanks again, Malik, and thanks for everyone.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone. Have a good evening. Thank you,
Bye
Mike.
for
Bye
now.
bye.